I'm going to call it right now. You get a free pass if we decide to review the Minecraft movie. You get one free pass to drink during that. Because there's no way anybody can watch that sober. Parents are bringing their kids to the theaters already hammered, and they've got another can in their coat.
Dude, every time I see more footage, it gets worse. And then they had the premiere, the red carpet last night. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
I vote that we don't cover it because I don't think we hate ourselves that much.
Yeah, that's true. It'll probably be as bad as Borderlands, but it will probably be more enjoyable because you aren't as familiar with the game itself, so the stupid bullshit will probably seem funnier. Maybe.
Oh. I don't know. To be determined if we cover that.
I think we just put a Camelback of boxed wine in my bag and just, go for it. But, yeah, it'll at least need to be a bit. We're going to have to preload that with a good month or two beforehand.
Yeah. Definitely wait until it's streaming and just safely watch it at home.
100%.
That nobody should be driving home from that viewing.
No, not at all.
Welcome back to Dime Gaming Bros, the monthly-ish show where Spencer and I review video games and video game movies or TV and everything that happened in the video game world that is worth talking about on our shitty podcast. Last month hasn't been released to the public yet, but in that episode, I went first with my review, which means Spencer gets to go first with his review.
That is correct. So, I've been edging this one for a while.
A long while.
Yeah, like 6 months.
I would hate to be edged by you this long.
I played Disco Elysium, The Final Cut, which I've been not subtly hinting at all for ages, because I was debating how I wanted to talk about it. I had strongly considered and started writing a script for like a massive separate episode of me just rambling, but that didn't happen because... Actually, that was because I nearly died, so that's fair. That one just got wiped off the table. So we're just going to try to boil it down to a simple, straightforward review.
And try not to die.
Hey, to be fair, you can die in this game in the first, 5 moves. So Disco Elysium came out in 2019. It was developed by Zaum, which is a... What country they're from? Fuck. God damn it. Whatever. Post-Soviet country. It is a actual RPG. So based on a tabletop game, which was in development for 20 years. It's ridiculous. The founding members of the company had started bouncing ideas off of each other in the early 2000s, and then just slowly accumulated effort over time. And it went through multiple massive overhauls. But it was finally released in 2019 for PC, received massive critical acclaim. And then in 2021 or 2022, there was an updated version, which added a couple of cut pieces of content, some additional animations, launched it on console, and gave voice lines to every single line of dialogue in the game that was not already voice lined before, whereas in the original version it was all of the important stuff, and then a lot of the side quests were just text. This was every line in the game is voiced, as well as some of them were re-recorded, some of them with new voice actors, some of them with the same ones just coming back and doing better quality recordings. It takes place in a fictional world called Elysium. Elysium is effectively the name for Earth. On this planet, effectively, there are continents, or what we would call continents. They are called insulas in this world. And inside this insula, there is a particular town called Revachol within the district of Martinez. And by the words, you can already tell, this is a really weird cultural mishmash. It is an entirely fictional world, but it does primarily take extremely strong influence from post-Soviet states as well as France, because France, why not? So much of this game is original. It's fucking disgusting. So it's an entire new literal world, continents, cultures, history, and it's all slowly drip fed to you throughout the game. You play as a amnesiac cop. You wake up after a bender without your memory, other than your basic motor functions and some kind of intuitive personality traits, and everything else is developed off of your skill tree, which you determine before you go into the game. There are major archetypes that you can play as in terms of your skill base, as well as your, I guess, persona, if you want to put it that way. So you have your basic clusters of skills. You have physical shit. I can't word. Again, a lot of these words are original, so it's crazy shit. It takes a lot to get into. You have your physical attributes like endurance, posture, response speed, stuff like that. You have your intellect, so encyclopedia, rhetoric, stuff like that. You have your kind of psyche, so say volition, which is effectively your like will to live, kind of. It's complicated. Volition, drama, very I guess human traits is a good way to put it, as well as a very unique one for this game called Inland Empire. Inland Empire is definitely, I would say, a focus of this skill group within your psyche. It is kind of a primordial understanding of the world and the ability to draw basically poetry from it. It's really complicated to explain, but if you read the text, you'll understand what it is. And then each one of the primary skill groups has a kind of unique feature to it. So say for physical attributes, there's also something called shivers, which is basically connecting with the ground, not necessarily the literal ground, but the city around you. You can hear the stories of the streets, if that makes sense. It's weird and vague, but it's very intuitive once it gets going. So you can choose your basic archetypes of like physical, beat cop, you punch things, you interact with the physical world. You can choose a very intellectual character, or you can choose someone who's very in touch with your emotions, the emotions of other people. And within each one of those subtypes, then there are character-based archetypes, which you do not choose out the gate, but develop as the game goes on. Some of them are related to political ideologies. Some of them are also on a spectrum of say good cop, bad cop, things like that kind of put you on like a multi-dimensional graph that kind of consolidate who you are, and they develop as the game goes on. So because you have a base skill set, all of the gameplay is based on roles, like in a tabletop. Other than basic movement, everything is, say you want to run a white check for rummaging around through a garbage can, for say, and that will probably be a check for perception, the classic perception check. And you roll your digital dice and it'll give you that. It'll also tell you ahead of time what your percentage of success is based on your immutable characteristics, so your skill set from the gate, what type of character you're playing as well as any potential contributing factors, like your attire is extremely relevant to roles. There's a lot of wacky clothing choices throughout the game. You will put on the weirdest shit, but all of these different clothing items have different have different stat boosts and debuffs. So you'll rapidly change attire and wear like a gi with, I don't know, clogs and a sword or whatever to do a random check just based on the stats that it'll improve. And that will contribute to, your roll percentage. All of this, or most of this, takes place in the back end, which is really nice. As someone who likes the idea of tabletops, but frankly, I hate math. One of the large Deterrence is just the amount of on-the-fly math going on. Drives me nuts. It's not relaxing for me whatsoever. So while you will choose all of these things and it will tell you, oh, this will increase this skill, which will then increase the percentage, you don't have to do the math yourself, nor do you have to do like actual calculations to get the best outcome. You kind of eyeball it in a sense. This game is so dense. Your initial out the gate, after you determine your skill set and wake up effectively, is you have an internal dialogue between your limbic system, so your adrenal glands, and your lizard brain, so your like ancient monkey, pretty much. And they have a dialogue back and forth while you're unconscious. And that's how the game starts. It is wild shit. After you finish that dialogue, you go through a few different options. Again, you wake up in your hotel room, place is trashed, you're naked, your shoes out the window, your tie is hanging from the ceiling fan. Shit's weird. And as you collect yourself, you inspect the room, you get acquainted with your base gameplay mechanics. You exit your room and you kind of start the story. As it unfurls, I guess the base plot premise, without really getting into much, is you have been sent here to investigate a murder of someone who is hanging off of a tree behind this hotel called the Whirling in Rags. It's a great location. And you have been called in as one of Precinct 41's cops. You are apparently, according to a lot of contextual clues, actually a pretty good cop. You're a very good detective. You can find your clipboard, so your notebook, your ledger, all of your previous cases. You can find that throughout the game to get more context about who you are. You have also been given a companion, Kim Kitsuragi, literally the best character ever, who is from Precinct 57, if I remember correctly, from a neighboring district, because this tiny little shithole town is effectively in like a no man's zone of like legality. So there's a bunch of different places and they're all going, we don't really want to deal with this case. So you're just kind of getting the shit end of the stick. So the two precincts that are basically fighting over who doesn't want to do the job come together, and the two of you discover a lot of shit. Turns out that this murder is not as straightforward as one would think, and beans. So much beans. This game is all beans, which is why I love it, but also why I can't talk about it without being specific. So this very large mystery or conspiracy, depending, unfurls. And throughout all this, you get acquainted with local factions, local politics, a bunch of different NPCs and their various affiliations. You learn more about yourself as the game goes on, partially because you're an amnesiac, but also why you're an amnesiac, as well as basically the fact that you're forming yourself as the game goes on. It's a feedback loop of like, oh, well, this is who you were because you're choosing to do this, but because you, the player, are actually choosing it, you're basically creating the character as you go, but you're still limited to who this character would have been. It's really weird and esoteric in a sense, which is really cool. When you start the game, you can walk up to a mirror and you literally don't recognize your own face. Like your little face card icon in the HUD window is blurred because you have nothing. You're not a blank slate, but you are so unknown to yourself. And it's a very pointed little interaction, which is really cool. You can go through the entire game without actually looking at a reflection, and you'll never get a clear understanding of your own face, which is really cool. So yeah, roughly 4 to 5 parts of this kind of murder mystery are intertwined that you will come across as you go along. You just go out the door and you start interacting with shit. You go investigate, you go out back. You need to figure out how to get the body down from the tree because it's been strung up there in a very unconventional fashion. Once you get it down, which could take you days, mind you, in-game days, you have to do an autopsy. You can fuck up the autopsy. Like every single thing you can think of, you can probably find a way to do in this game, which is incredible. That's kind of all of the story I can get into without completely derailing myself. Effectively, it is a murder mystery that unfurls into a conspiracy, but it also undercuts itself at various different points for its own philosophical and political points, which I think is awesome. It blends philosophy and politics. And again, because a lot of this is fictional, it draws a lot of parallels and a bunch of satire, but it's actual satire. It's not just, respectfully, South Park on its good days, where it's like, we're just kind of poking at the thing. Like, it's so unsubtle, you kind of have to be an idiot not to read it in this game. Like, it's not subtext, it's all text. But it's so over the top and goofy, but also deeply serious and really depressing. Which I think is really cool, and I think makes it connect extremely well, not just with me, but I think it has the potential to connect with people in a particular way that is beyond what a lot of video games I think are not capable of doing, but willing to do. The major themes of the game, I suppose, can be summed up with like identity and understanding yourself, your place in the world, and how the various wheels of power can be influenced by people or not influenced by people. To be vague. There's so much here. This game is a book. It has like 1.2 million words of dialogue. It is like 4 Bibles over in terms of writing. It's insane. So there's so much to kind of contain, but it's deep as fuck, but it's also extremely funny. The voice acting is phenomenal across the board. I haven't played the original version of the game. I know that some of the actors carried over to the Final Cut version. Some of them didn't. But the voice performances here are incredibly funny. The dialogue itself is written to be extremely expressive and filled with various levels of text. Like any good human drama, like TV show, there's a lot of layers going on, and then like triple it. And it's all added onto by character design, the art style of the game, and how all of those chess pieces interact with each other. It's not just, oh, well, this person is this chess piece, so they'll do this. There's levels to each individual piece, and you'll find out about new character archetypes you never knew existed, I guess in like an abstract way, but yet feel intimately familiar to people that you might know. It's very cool. It's also extremely funny, which is weird because it's about like the most depressing shit imaginable, like genocide and real world politics and poverty and power and revolution. But yet it finds extremely in character ways to be extremely entertaining. All of the comedy is done within the realm of each character's persona. It's not taking a break to make a joke. It's, oh, this character would say that, whether it's even intended as a joke or not, as well as all of the additional skill-related specifics of the game. Everything plays out so differently based upon what skills you've invested into, where you put all your upgrade points, et cetera, et cetera. The game will effectively narrate you kicking like garbage cans. Not joking. Like, you can do that for one. There's also an achievement for destroying a certain amount of things, but it will then absorb that into so much of who you are in a very over the top sense. But it will then literally in your ear, it'll be like, yes, I am the big strong man, destroyer of objects who all stand in my way. It's very goofy in a sense. But I think it actually speaks to a very interesting part of the human psyche about like how much we internalize the things that we do into who we become. So that's fucking cool. multiple points, probably dozens, I just broke out wheezing. Like, it's genuinely funny all the time, but I'll just have to sit down for a second, like put the controller down and take a minute to laugh because something someone said is so flatly funny. The slapstick comedy, when it does appear, is really, really entertaining. Or it's such esoteric, terminally online political theory nerd jargon, whereas the joke makes sense, like how it's written, but also the fact that you even knew how to write a joke like that speaks to who you are as a person, like as a writer. Like, in a very flat sense, you know how the Big Bang Theory isn't actually written for nerds because its references are garbage, but it's not even doing a wink and a nod. It's going, isn't it funny that this guy would know about that? Like, so instead of it just having your base level, like, damn, it's funny that this basement dwelling retard knows this obscure knowledge, they actually know the knowledge. The knowledge is coherent. It's correct, potentially anyways. And it's all then filtered through the political jargon of this world in such a coherent way. It's something special. There is literally a man you meet towards the beginning of this game. His name is Measurehead. He is a big, like 6'5", bald, muscular man who is really into racial science. And he has tattooed like the different parts of his brain and his skull onto his body. They're all fictional, but it's all based upon real world bullshit. And like, you'll go through a good 10-minute dialogue tree about fictional racism with this dude who's clearly very intelligent, but it's entirely geared towards nonsense. And that's how the entire game plays out. It's so, I don't know, inside baseball, I guess. Gameplay itself is basic RPG, left stick move, right stick move camera, press different buttons for different interfaces. It's pretty straightforward shit. Like, it's not exciting, but it's not designed to be. The soundtrack is beyond a huge standout. It is composed by British Sea Power, or Sea Power as they're now known. They were commissioned before the gameplay had even started to make a soundtrack for this game, and it fed into how the game was developed and vice versa. It consistently bounces back and forth between diegetic and non-diegetic music in terms of, you know, you're walking by an area of the game and you'd swear that the music that's playing is playing out of a speaker somewhere, or say the French horns that you'll hear during certain tracks are just playing out over the landscape and you wouldn't even know where they're coming from, but it's actually a part of the music backing. Like, things like that. It's incredibly well formed. It immediately went on one of my favorite bands of the past couple of years, as well as, like, I fall asleep to this shit. It's super wacky. The art style is kind of hard to pin down in terms of a specific artistic movement, again, because I don't have, like, the actual words for it. But generally speaking, it is watercolor painted. The game is rendered in 3D on top of it's an isometric. So instead of it being a square, it's a diamond, which generally speaking just make gameplay more interesting. So instead of you just looking, you know, left, right, up, down, it just tilts the screen, which makes everything look cooler. And then everything is rendered in 3D, and the textures given to each one of these objects or buildings or landscapes are hand painted. So instead of just, they made the 3D model and then they made a cool texture map with the art style done in like digital watercolor, they painted translucent like glass panes, scanned them into the engine, and put them on top of objects uniquely, not just like there's 5 textures on top of it. Like, there's literal brush strokes in the game. It's so fucking cool. All characters also have portraits, which are a very big part of how their persona. Like any classic RPG, it's a face card that pops up when characters have dialogue. Sometimes it'll change over time, but not very much. Done in the same style, they're extremely expressive in terms of telling you a lot about a character, in terms of their general archetype, as well as how they view themselves, how you can interact with them. And There's one guy who is the art director for this game, and I swear to God, he should never have to work again a day in his life. He was commissioned just to do the portraits when they started the gameplay process, and then they just pulled him full-time on board to head up the entire art department. It's disgusting. Flawless presentation across the board. I can't really say it's difficult because this isn't really a game that plays with difficulty necessarily. Like, it's a traditional RPG, so it's not, I don't know, it's hard to scale that in terms of how we usually think about difficulty for video games. It is a video game. It's an interactive experience, but this is not a video game. This is like a fucking book, but a choose your own adventure book, but given so much weight and depth that I can't compare it to anything else I've ever read in my life. Which means it can also be frustrating because you can fuck up very simple rolls, which is, I guess, where my only real frustration came up. Not necessarily because I think the game did anything wrong, but because I didn't understand the consequences of my action. Trial through error. Depending on your stat build, you can fail to get your necktie off of the ceiling fan and like slip on a beer bottle and die. And then the game restarts. Like, if you don't understand how the mechanics work, and if you are low on either physical health or morale, you can get bullied by a kid into dying. Like, characters can just shit talk you so much, you'll take health damage, and then if you don't heal yourself or upgrade certain stats and you go into an encounter, like especially a combat encounter, you could just die from like basically psychic damage. It's really entertaining and really annoying.
That sounds like a narrative of your life. It just dies of psychic damage.
Pretty much, dude. Which on its face, it sounds, oh well, that's neat, but that's so kind of ingrained into like the philosophy of the game. It's such a life. You can just fall down your stairs one day and fucking die. You can fall into an even deeper depression because that stupid red-haired kid called you a bleep, 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 and like you wanted to die, and then your partner told you that you're shitty at your job, and then you drank and you smoked too heavy, and then you woke up the next morning hungover, and then you tried to ask out a prostitute and she told you to kill yourself. Like that can happen, basically, like at any point. It's wild. That was not a live recounting of events for me, by the way, just to make that abundantly clear. The names were legally changed for the sake of privacy. I can see that look on your face.
So that's how you came into being.
Yeah, that was a story about my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So, yeah. I did run into a few roadblocks just based upon those sorts of struggles of the game. I didn't have any technical failures of the game. It never failed to load up. It never glitched out. It never bugged. I never had zero tech issues. But I'm an idiot. So most of my frustrations where I would die, lose 2 hours of progress, and then refuse to play the game for a week because I was so mad was frequent. My first playthrough was about 30 hours. I had a lot of breaks in there because I kept dying or getting mad. So that drew it out over a very long period of time, but between 30 and 40 hours. I had a second playthrough, which I finished 2 weeks ago, where I chose a very different approach, let's say. And that was incredibly difficult because I was willingly making the game harder for myself based upon my previous knowledge of the story and what would be required of me. And that took 40 to 45. In my initial playthrough, I basically played as myself in terms of my general approach and political ideology, I guess, like within about as close of a stone's throw as I could get, just because it's self-expression. So I was a good sorry cop who sometimes would talk about the apocalypse. I was very much so a communist, and I had a lot of skill points into volition, encyclopedia, rhetoric, and shivers, because shivers is cool. And my second playthrough, I was a rock man. I was just the most fascist you could be. I was an absolute idiot, and I basically hit everything, and it was really hard to play the game that way. I also did a lot of drugs, which is a gameplay modifier. Don't worry about it. I started a third playthrough. I've been a little busy recently, but I did start a third playthrough to try to find some equilibrium between the 2 points, to try to see where else I could go, to see what other story options were available and all that sort of stuff. I have never felt so touched by a video game in my life. Not just it hits like the autism special focus of like, oh, this is really cool, your Alan Wakes or your things like that, where it's like, oh, this hit at the right time, but like I can critique it. There's stuff I don't love, but I like most of it or whatever. This is flatly like touched my soul with how it handles its themes, its subject matter, its humor, it's topics of like grief and substance use. And, oh my gosh. Which is the Colin pretentious way of saying it made me cry a lot. But like, we kind of knew that already. I bought this for $3, which is a fucking steal. I don't know how. I went to a Bull Moose. I had no idea what this game was. I was just flipping through Xbox One games, and I saw $3 RPG, and I was like, I think I've heard something about this. Oh, the back of this box looks really cool, and I'm gonna play this shit until I die. Like, just, I have nothing I can compare it to, whether it's gameplay or impact or anything. There's shit that's more fun. There's stuff that's more entertaining. There's things that I would want to be in the mood for. Like, I can't just boot this up. Sometimes it's an incredibly depressing 4 hours, but it transcends all of the things.
My favorite thing with my very limited experience with it is, like, it's not really a skill tree, but how your dialogue choices will level up your dialogue skills later. And it's its own menu. It's kind of like a skill tree, but you can gain skills. Like, the more you lie, the better a liar you become, and you get different perks with that. Like, yeah. The system behind the dialogue system is incredible.
I took a look at some of the developer maps on how just not even the skills themselves, just how the dialogue flow went, and I had an aneurysm. Like, I believe there were like between 6 and 10 writers by the time the project was over, and they were all, kind of working together and handling different parts and whatever. And the fact that it all feels like one coherent experience is insane. I can't recommend this if you only play first-person shooters, because you'll be bored to shit. But if you like anything close to an RPG, or I guess just like emotionally engaging subject matter, or if you like tabletops especially, if you like a good detective mystery, like, the only companion I could think of for this is like the first season of True Detective, and they're so different than each other. It's just purely based on the framing device and, like, respectfully, how much it's smelling its own farts, because it's really smart. And I mean that lovingly in the best way possible. But, like, honestly, these two are on entirely different tiers of quality. It's disturbing. And I can't come up with a single criticism of True Detective season 1. But, like, they're just, it's a multimedia experience. It has so much more that it has to do, So turning the gears around to something completely different. Sonic 3.
Shadows had a gun. I called it. when the first trailer dropped, I'm so happy. That's kind of my only takeaway.
When we were talking about this, it sounded like you were actually a lot, not less positive, but like more negative than I thought you were going to be.
Yeah, me too. I expected a lot more from this. To be fair, it is a kids movie. Ugh, but it is so mind-numbing. The humor is pretty much the same humor all the way through. There's not much to this movie. I don't understand how much people shit on the Marvel movies for the he's right behind me, isn't he? Because I can't point to an example of when that happens. Or maybe it happens like once out of 40 fucking movies. But they do it like 8 times in this movie. It was so much. And then throw in a couple of butt, poop, toilet jokes. Jim Carrey came back because he's old and he's having fun. That's good. But there just wasn't. It looked good. That's my positive. It looked really, really good. I like how the hedgehogs look. You have some fur and you have some like spiky, spindle, spiky things. That's kind of it. That's what I got. Sonic had a gun. I love the part where Shadow had a gun. I love the part where Shadow jumps on a motorcycle because he can run really fast.
Okay,
but he rides a motorcycle because it looks cool.
Yeah, because he has to Akira slide up the side of the building.
But he can run faster than the motorcycle can go.
But we've already seen Sonic do an Akira slide on foot, so we got to do it with a motorcycle. I don't disagree with anything you said.
This movie was really dumb.
It was, and I think it might just be maybe I've grown softer. I've definitely grown a little softer on these movies because I've had to see them so much just due to life circumstances. I think I would rather watch the second one again, but I think this one is definitely an upgrade, definitely on the visuals. Like, it was the thing we said when the trailer came out was like, the first one was kind of a mess visually. It had some moments, but like big post-production change, you know. Then the second one, it looked pretty damn good. Sometimes it still looked weird. This one, when they have moments of like physical sets with the digital characters, it still looks kind of weird, but it's not bad. It's just fine. But when it's the fully 3D just hedgehogs fighting on a fucking skyscraper, holy shit, dude. I knew it was gonna look this good, and it is. I prefer things that are more directly stylized in terms of specific, I guess, choices, whether it's camera work or lighting or whatever. This is still very straightforward. It's meant to be digested by 9-year-olds. However, the visual fidelity, bro, like what the fuck? When it's just okay, as I think I said this with the second one, just axe all of the live action stuff and just do a 3D series. Fuck it. Because holy shit, it looks really good. The action is very good. I just think it didn't bug me that much this time around. It might be because I had lowered my expectations so much. I had heard that it got a decently better reception than the second one had, which also got a decently better reception than the first one had. So I was expecting it to be better, but still be the same beast, you know, the same animal. I don't know. I fuck with it.
Did you watch it before this viewing?
Nope.
Really?
I had intended on it because I was on a big movie binge last year. I just hadn't gotten to it. Some shit came up or whatever. So no, I literally watched this on my laptop like 3 hours ago.
Wow.
And I wasn't gripping my seat by any means, but I was having a good time. At a minimum, when the humor worked, I actually laughed, which is something that the second one had a bit more of. It was a little bit less reference heavy. yes, Sonic grew up on pop culture, so that's why he makes the jokes, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely felt a little better written on that front. There were less human characters, which was nice because those are still the worst part. They still had to find a way to sneak in Hedgehog's dad's wife's sister and new husband. They still had to find a way to sneak those two actors in, probably because of contracts. So they had to appear for like 3 seconds.
I want to know the thought process. I was thinking about this through the movie. Clean slate, right? You're making a kids movie. You're the casting guy. And I say, I have a mean military general of whatever. I need someone that's cranky and mean in a kids movie with brightly colored hedgehogs running around and a Jim Carrey being an evil guy. And you say, oh, cast Kristen Ritter as a mean general military. She doesn't have much to do with the script. I'm not saying she did a poor job. Just saying, like, that's such a weird casting. Like,
I was expecting there to be, like, it would have been a dumb surface level plot twist, but I was expecting something else other than
she just stands there and is mean.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be Eggman's dad's sister's roommate's cousin or something, like something with the weird family relations or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, no, she's
there's
just
literally nothing.
Yeah,
so weird.
It is. It also does tread over similar ground to the second one in terms of obviously like found family and teamwork and all that stuff, which is expected. That's not even really a complaint. It's just kind of notating the obvious. It's, you know, they end the movie by being like, you should stop being mad and make better choices, which valid. But they do change it up because then Shadow fucking kills himself, which works, I guess. I don't know. Dude, the Super Saiyan fight between Sonic and Shadow was great. I hate Dragon Ball, but sometimes that shit just works.
I am so glad I did not watch this in theater because I would have had to sit through the end credits scene with Jelly Roll singing before seeing the hook for the next movie end credits scene.
It's a girl hedgehog.
I watched it at home where I could mute Jelly Roll, and I'm very happy.
I like Jelly Roll.
You would.
Fuck you.
He is the definition of the boomer meme of like mixing country and rap and it becomes crap.
Okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Before Keanu Reeves was announced to be playing Shadow, I was low-key hoping it was going to be Hayden Christensen.
That'd be great.
Just because he had been getting a lot of positive attention, because like when the pre-production for this was happening, it was around when Obi-Wan came out. The Star Wars fandom was like happy to have him back, all that stuff. Keanu was fine. He 100% recorded this in his closet.
I enjoyed the voice acting for all the hedgehogs. They all did very well. Ben Schwartz as Sonic, again, has gotten less on my nerves as time has gone on. If I remember correctly, the lady that plays Tails is the same one as in the games, so that's cool. Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Pretty sure. Or at least maybe it was one of the two movies. I don't know. Idris Elba as Knuckles is just literally me. I love him. I can't deny it.
Hold on. There was a joke that I was gonna.
Almost as if they're two characters being played by the same actor in a movie. Dude, I want to know how many millions of dollars Jim Carrey got for this shit. Because he is, every time he comes back, he's having a better time than he did last time. He is putting so much work in.
I don't think it was meant to be a reference, but the fact that Shadow becomes really good friends with a young girl, and that is like his whole story arc is he's avenging her or whatever. I think it's a reference to Sonic 06 when Sonic is actually in love with a real life girl.
Oh my gosh. I really hope that that's true, because that would be funny. To be fair, the Sonic as like a cultural hegemon is filled with some weird shit, so that would kind of track as like an inside baseball joke.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, yes, we're getting the weird Sonic shit now, finally, on the third movie.
Oh, good God.
Next Sonic needs to call someone a pedo or something. That would make my life.
Yeah, Jim Carrey was having a hoot playing two guys.
Yep.
I saw all of those twists coming, obviously. It is a kid's movie. I say with a little bit of respect. This is not a family movie. This is a kid's movie.
The musical number that he has playing with himself in the lasers was pretty cool looking.
That was so fun. It's so dumb. Oh.
It looked good. Lasers go boom. So
yeah, Jim Carrey, put on this fat belly and put on a leotard and dance with yourself twice, and we'll put lasers on it. I respect it. It's so goofy.
That'll be my review. Is Jim Carrey has fun playing with himself.
It's true. 3
stars.
Yeah, that's where my mind's ending up as well. Is like
slightly less than the second Sonic.
I think it's the same as the second Sonic. I just think there's different qualities. That one I feel like I should rewatch because I don't know. This one is just like, okay, I'll watch this once, and like that was fine. Shout out to my boy Agent Stone finally getting like canonically called out as being madly in love with Dr. Robotnik, this weird ass OC character that they wrote in for these movies. That was some weird shit. I love that. The mustaches were on point.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little wizard battle at the end with weird hands. That was weird.
I'm done talking about Sonic. I'm moving on to the news.
Jim Carrey played with himself.
And got paid millions of dollars for it.
Respect the game.
Do you want this first bit of news because it's relevant?
Yeah. I do. From Eurogamer.com, psychological RPG Disco Elysium, holy shit, I just talked about that, is set to come to mobile devices. Courtesy of Original Studio Zaum in a reimagined form. The aim of this adaptation is to make the game accessible for mobile devices and playable in short bursts. We intend to captivate the TikTok user with quick hits of compelling story, art, and audio, ultimately creating a new, deeply engaging form of entertainment, said studio head Dennis Havel, an original member of the Disco Elysium development team.
I'm not even going to have to say anything about this. You're just going to rant about this just as long as you did about the game.
Yep. With this adaptation, Disco Elysium becomes more accessible than ever. This reimagination is now structured to fit the way people play on mobile, making it effortlessly to enjoy in small bursts. This is what audiobooks wish they were, said narrative lead Chris Priestman. Added Havel, mobile players deserve deep, story-rich experiences like Disco Elysium with profound respect for the original's artistry and meaning. We move forward as both custodians and creators, bringing this masterpiece to new and returning players alike. We want you to fall in love with Disco Elysium on your phone all over again. I'm going to shoot myself. Okay, so 2 points.
Is that an evil character arc, or is that just a self-hating character arc?
Let me cook. I have an answer to that. So 2 points. One,
it's actually brain science character arc.
It is flatly stupid on its face and clearly for money. Actually, 3 points. Two, the studio has borderline disbanded because of a bunch of behind the scenes shit. So there's like 2 original guys involved and everybody else is new, and the studio's going to end up closing after this. So money. 3, there's a particular quote in this game, which is a parody of a quote, I'm not joking, from Karl Marx. I'm sorry, I'm doing it. I'm not going to quote it directly because I don't remember, but effectively, there is a point at which the critique of capital becomes a parody in and of itself. And that's exactly what this is. In the game, it's referenced. Eventually, if you keep making anti-capitalist art for profit, eventually the meaning is lost. We're here. I'm going to shoot myself. This is so stupid. Please take it away and move on. I'm so mad.
From GamesRadar.com, the Wonder Woman game from Monolith and Warner Brothers Games is officially canceled. Warner Brothers announced that the upcoming superhero game, which was revealed at the Game Awards back in 2021, would be no more on February 25th this year. Not only that, but Monolith Productions, the developer behind some of the best action games ever made, I squint as I say, would be shutting down as well. Along with canceling the Wonder Woman game, it was revealed that 3 development studios, Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and Warner Brothers Games San Diego, would be shut down. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO Victor Zsasz, David Zaslav, and CFO Gunnar Weidenfels are reportedly focusing on a new game strategy that closes everything that ever existed, that centers around live service titles and mobile offerings instead of AAA games. This is very disappointing. I was really looking forward to a Wonder Woman game because I don't think she's ever had a game, but also because it was from Monolith, it was going to be badass. She was going to have the sword and the shield, which is a really good Wonder Woman look. And also it was another chance to bring back the Nemesis system that Monolith made and put into 2 games, and then Warner Brothers has kept on the shelf because they trademarked it, because they're evil. So this is all bad news. I love referring to David Zaslav as Victor Zsasz because he continues to cut everything. It's just so many levels of joke. I love it.
Yep. Ditto on both points. Yeah, yeah, not only did they make a cool system and then trademark it or patent it or whatever, now that the studio doesn't exist, that trademark patent can't be used by any of the other subsidiaries.
Yep. So
it just ceases to exist.
Yep.
No other Warner Bros. Game divisions can even use it. I'm gonna shoot myself. Also, stop announcing games 5 years before they're out, because the announcement trailer is what's designed to pull in revenue to fund the game. This was notated when this was announced like 2 years ago already, but seriously stop doing this, because this is like the 3rd or 4th high profile game like this that's been announced, then put in development, and then canceled in the past couple of years. And I'm getting mad. I'm going Joker mode, baby.
That's definitely the chemical imbalance story arc.
That's true. On a good note, we have an exclusive from Deadline.com. Constantine's Resident Evil franchise reboot with Barbarian and Weapon filmmaker Zach Krieger directing will stay at Sony Pictures. Warner Bros. Was kicking the tires of this latest Krieger pick, but Sony isn't letting go of this $1.2 billion grossing franchise go. A theatrical release date of September 18th, 2026 has been set, which tells you how excited the studio are to get this latest rendition up on the screen. Krieger's screenplay, which was co-written by Shay Hatton of Ballerina and John Wick Chapter 3 and 4, is under wraps, but apparently harkens back to the original Capcom games horror roots. Having an action scriptwriter pair with a horror scriptwriter is kind of what I need for this. Mm-hmm. And having an actual horror director who made a movie that is gross and funny is a great combo. How are they going to fuck this up?
Because Sony Pictures. I swallowed a bug. Exclusive from Variety.com, a film adaptation of Split Fiction, the hot new co-op game from It Takes Two developer Hazelight Studios, is in the works, Variety has learned. Sources at the Game Developers Conference, GDC, in San Francisco have confirmed that media company Story Kitchen, led by the team that shepherded It Takes Two into a film project now set up at Amazon, is putting together the film's cast, writers, and director into a package as offers for the rights keep coming in from multiple top Hollywood studios. So yet again, making the announcement long before anything is said, ever. Good.
That is true, but also, to be fair, this game has gotten a really positive reception, and I want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Hurry up and get back so we can do fun things. From Marvel.com, included at the behest of Jacob, because this actually flew under my radar. Greetings, heroes. Tribute Games, Dotemu, and Marvel Games assembled today to announce Marvel Cosmic Invasion, an arcade-style beat-em-up featuring an incredible roster of characters from Marvel's golden eras. The latest title will be available on Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and PC via Steam in 2025. After Annihilus has launched an unprecedented attack across the galaxy, all life hangs in the balance. Nova, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Kylo Vel, Captain America, Storm...
Vel. Thank you.
Shut up. Captain America, Storm, Venom, and many more heroes, both Earthborn and Cosmic, will join forces in a star-spanning, brawling adventure against the deadly Annihilation Wave. Get ready to brawl through the streets of New York City and all the way to the depths of the negative zone to foil Annihilus' plan to spread death across the cosmos. Tribute Games CEO and co-founder Jean-Francois Major shares what this project means to the team. I'm quite sure I speak for the whole team at Tribute Games when I say that we are profoundly honored to work on Marvel Cosmic Invasion. This project allows us to pay homage not only to the iconic Marvel characters, but also to the classic arcade-style games that shaped our love for gaming. We approach this cherished license with the utmost respect, infusing every pixel with the care and passion it deserves. We once again set out to modernize and push forward the genre while respecting what made the classics great. Okay, so my I think I talked about this when we talked about TMNT Shredder's Revenge. My two introductions to video games, flat out, aside from plug and play bullshit, was the Sega Genesis and the X-Men Arcade's Revenge game, and like the Weird Ass Avengers game, which were both side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and a TMNT game cabinet. So this is my bread and butter. I am not very good at it. I will never claim to do that.
Yeah.
I'm okay. But as long as I get drip-fed one of these every few years of any level of quality, I will continue playing video games.
I'm really excited for this, and I kind of hate to admit it because I don't get this hype off of just a single trailer, but it looks really, really good. The art style in itself homages like the 90s cabinets. It looks so good. I'm really excited about how many characters are in it that are announced to be in it that we don't even know the full lineup yet. But yeah, I'm also not very good at these kinds of games, but you kind of don't have to be for the most part. So
yeah, they're still fun even when you're bad.
Yeah, so it's just like
Smash.
I can't wait to get this and just have, drop in and play a couple of levels and kick the shit out of people. I saw someone online say that this is basically like Marvel Ultimate Alliance in 2D, and that just makes me even more excited. That was the shit when I was a kid. Before I even got into comics, I was like, that game looks so cool.
Yes, put it in me.
From Eurogamer.net. I have an itchy nose, I'm sorry. And my mustaches keep getting in my mouth. Until Dawn remake studio Ballistic Moon has reportedly effectively closed amid claims only a handful of employees at most remain, none of them developers. Ballistic Moon, which is based in the UK, confirmed a round of redundancies last year, saying it had made the tough decision to significantly scale down our team to secure the future of our studio. However, a new report by Insider Gaming claims the studio quietly made a second round of redundancies toward the end of last year. According to the publication's sources, roughly 40 employees were let go in October, with remaining staff kept on to provide post-launch support for Ballistic's Until Dawn remake. However, it's claimed these developers, equating to around 20 employees, lost their jobs in December, leaving only the studio's founders and possibly a handful of employees at most. Reportedly, Ballistic's entire PR, marketing, and development teams are now gone. People are sharing bugs they found in the game to make the team aware, a source told the publication, but there's no one working on patch support for the game anymore. Insider Gaming claims the job losses follow unsuccessful attempts by Ballistic's founders to pitch new projects, secure funding, and keep things moving forward. It's also said discussions were had with Sony to secure funding for additional Until Dawn updates, possibly even another game, but they never reached fruition. Is that the same company that won an award and nobody showed up to claim the award because it was literally closed and there was nobody left to claim the award? Or is that somebody else?
That might be somebody else, but point still stands.
I'm pretty sure I sent you that article too.
Yeah, big oof. It doesn't sound like it's necessarily the Until Dawn remake/remaster that really sunk them on the long term. But the reception to that was not very good either. It was like, it technically is better, but it lost so much of the style. Combat Evolved Anniversary, that made the original game scary. Having not played it, that's what I've heard, and that's kind of what I've seen from the screenshots, is the stylization got wiped away just to be more high fidelity, and that's kind of stinky. So, dumbass. That's not good, but that probably shouldn't warrant the entire studio closing effectively. Like, that came out within the past 6 months. That's nuts. They're already done patching it. Like, no, you're not. There's no marketing team. That's nuts. Yeesh.
Let's see. There was a thing about Game Informer coming back with all of its staff that had been there, and I smell money laundering. So I guess to wrap up the news for this month, there's a bunch of games coming out in April of 2025.
I knew
it's okay. It's okay. I have it. The Last of Us Part 2 is releasing on PC April 3rd. Another Katamari game. Ugh, that's a mobile game. Never mind. Talos Principle Reawakened comes out PC, PS, PlayStations, and Xboxes April 10th. A lot of mobile shit. Holy crap. The Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is hitting mobile. Monument Valley.
Is that what spurred you on?
No, it's because it hit PlayStation Game Pass, which is like Xbox Game Pass, but different. Monument Valley 1 and 2 are coming to Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox April 15th. I played those actually on my phone a while ago, and I really enjoy them. They're really short, though. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle hits PlayStation 5 April 17th. I'm excited for that. The Days Gone Remastered is hitting PlayStation 5 April 25th. Forza Horizon 5 is hitting PlayStation 5 April 29th. I'm not reading just PlayStation.
Floodgates are opening.
Yeah, I'm not reading just PlayStation stuff, but like intentionally, but it's weird to have like legit actual Xbox games on PlayStation. That's kind of all I'm seeing too. So
it's probably going to be quiet for a couple of months until summer. We'll have the big out of school push, and then it'll die down again for the holiday season.
I see some big ones for May, but we'll cover that next month.
Bingus bongus.
Unless our studio closes us, in which case we won't cover it next month.
Yeah, well, we're definitely not winning any awards, so we don't have to worry about that part.
Oh, man.
What have you been cooking? You always have you pull some shit out of your ass. You sit in my ear and you talk about one thing for all month, and then day pulls up and you're like, so I played this other thing. It's like, where the fuck did that come from?
I thought about doing that to you, but I'm sticking to the plan. But happy hour, I'm going to do that to you. So stay tuned. Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception was originally released November 1st, 2011 for the PlayStation 3. It came out 2 years after the second game. The story, I'll be honest, up front, I really struggled to follow the story in this game. I'm not sure if it's burnout from playing the series through, or if I can blame the story for not keeping my interest, but I'm relying on the fandom summary heavily to recap this one. And then as I was writing it, I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. But I didn't feel the importance even still as I was writing it down and recapping the story. Nate and Sully meet a guy named Talbot in an English pub because Talbot wants to buy Nate's ring. That is actually Sir Francis Drake's ring. Bar fight starts, ending with a guy shooting Nate and Sully in an alley outside. We then jump back in time to play as young Nate as he explores a museum about Sir Francis Drake, which is how he meets Sully. It also introduces the bad guys of the game. He sees them. What just clicked for you? I saw the light bulb from here.
I'm just remembering the footage of the flashback sequence of the like, hey, see, you can do a young Nathan Drake without making him a baby. You can have him be a child and still be cool. I just remembering the rooftops.
Okay. Flashback to current time. The guy that shot Nate and Sully was a plant with a paintball gun. Somehow, this guy reminds me of Jason Statham's character from Ocean's 11. I don't know why. It's just like he's balding and he has a horrible, annoying English accent, and it annoys the shit out of me. He tags along with Nate and Sully and Chloe for a while as they chase down Talbot. He's working with an old bitch named Marlo. We know she's the game's bad guy because she's a bitch. Several levels of solving puzzles and traveling around the world brings us to the important story part. Nate and Sully land in Yemen. Elena gives them a few fake news passes. Not fake news, but the passes are fake. And their news passes to be able to get to the next story relevant puzzle. Apparently between games 2 and 3, Nate and Elena were married and then separated. A lot of storytelling happens very quickly by how the three of them interact with each other in this scene. Nate points out that she's still wearing his ring, and she says it helps in this part of the world, basically waving him off. As she's leading them somewhere and telling them how much she really shouldn't be helping them, Sully does a dude bro head nod and whispers about her ring, and Nate repeats, it helps in this part of the world. Sully asks, what the hell does that mean? And Nate just shrugs. It's very funny. And over the next couple chapters, Elena clearly shows interest and some enjoyment in Nate's adventures, but fears about the dangers they bring. This is expanded on more in the next game, but it's incredible how cohesive these games are with their narrative about how Nate and Elena's relationship, especially considering it was... This is expanded on more in the next game, but it's incredible how cohesive these games are with their narrative about Nate and Elena's relationship, especially considering it was 9 years between the first and the last game. I just love that they don't have a giant lore dump. They just interact with each other like they normally would, and we deduce what each of them feels and what they've split over. After that, we're adventuring. Nate chases down the bad guy. Sully's kidnapped. Nate chases down the bad guy, finds the lost Atlantis of the Sands. Both bad guys seemingly die. Nate escapes and rides off into the sunset with Sully and Elena. Honestly, the adventure feels extremely typical. Every time Nate encounters the bad guy, he's able to just slip away. It feels like the whole game we're chasing him, and like the bad guy's always one step ahead, and there's no explanation why except he's the bad guy. I spent most of the game not sure what I was trying to find. just automatically just solving puzzles and killing bad guys. Maybe that's on me and my poor attention span. Honestly, I don't know, but this playthrough just didn't click. Moving on to visuals, the visual quality doesn't feel like as big of a jump in quality as 2 was to 1, but this game is still impressive. There are a few large levels or sections that let Nate mess around in for a while. The most memorable one was in the midst of a shipwreck of a huge ship with lots of floating barges and debris and small boats with bad guys everywhere. It's a big level with the freedom to play it in stealth or just shoot everyone. The self-appreciating sections when the camera zooms out to show the magnitude of the scenery is better than ever, with really awesome looking vistas begging for a screenshot. I noticed in this game that Nate has a lot more fluidity as he's moving. For example, when pushing the left stick forward to walk, if you get too close to a wall, he'll reach out and touch the wall automatically. It looks a little goofy if you abuse it, but it's a small thing that looks really good when naturally playing through the game. There was clearly a focus put into making Nate's animations a lot better than the past games. I'm skipping my least favorite topic, sound design, because I have no comments, so I'm moving on to gameplay. This game has a lot of interactions that are quick time events. The fist fighting is kind of like the fighting system in Arkham Asylum: square to punch, triangle to dodge when prompted, circle to break a grab. It sounds good, but I hated it. This fighting felt sluggish. To be fair, probably because I've played better games since this came out that use the same-ish system. And other enemies within sight will shoot Nate as he's locked in a fist fight, which makes sense in the real world, but it's a pain in the ass when the game locks you into a fist fight and you can't escape it, and you just get shooted to death because the game wouldn't let you go. Yeah, I would try to escape the guy that wanted to fight me so I could shoot him and take cover from the rest of the enemies, but the game almost always forced me to finish the fist fight, which usually meant I died by being shot. It was extremely frustrating. Big action set pieces also relied on button prompts, and I would rather just watch the cool scene play out. This is in the height of the QuickTime events in video games. So it's not the end of the world. It was done fine enough, but we've learned through history that a cutscene is better, usually. The game had a lot more weapons in it than past games, and that was a lot of fun to play with, but really nothing to comment on. There were a bunch of sniper rifles, which I thought was weird, but still only like one shotgun. But, well, one actual shotgun and one shotgun pistol that we had from the game before, but whatever. This game focuses on Nate's notebook a lot more, and I really appreciate that interaction. There was one time I was locked in a library and had to find a thing, and I kept checking the notebook to try to find out what piece I was looking for, or try to find more information from my notebook that's been written down. I just really appreciate referring to my notes and using that to figure out the puzzle. There was one time where the notebook was replaced with a map that I had to refer to instead. I just think it's cool. Nate feels much stickier to objects. It was a royal pain in the ass to hide behind cover, let it go, climb over something. It feels like they tried to improve the cover system to make it more fluid and messed it up by making it more complicated. That's what it felt like. Enemies can lob a grenade at Nate's feet with perfect accuracy from miles away, and it pissed me off. There is a throwback system. I have no idea why, but I couldn't figure it out this time around. I had the trophy for throwing so many back from my first playthrough, but I just couldn't find the button I needed this time. It still doesn't excuse the accuracy that enemies have when throwing these Hail Marys. They would be so far away. I would try to throw my own back at them, and Nate only had a set range that he could throw a grenade, and they were throwing grenades further away than they could throw back. It was very frustrating. Besides all these complaints, it's another Uncharted game. It's from an incredibly solid studio. This is not a bad game. It's just a pinch of burnout and a pinch of, I don't know, just being, it's just a little bit of tired of the series, playing so much of it back to back to back. If I had gone 2 years and then only come back to this one, I would appreciate it a lot more than I do now. But compared to the rest of the series and just having been playing a bunch of them back to back to back, it's just I'm a little bit tired. And so the bugs or glitches or not so great design sticks out that much more. These are very small complaints that I have in a very good game, in a very good game series. It's still part of the Nathan Drake collection that I got for like $15, I don't know, 8 years ago. So, well worth the money.
So you're going to take a break this upcoming month before playing Uncharted 4, right?
Absolutely.
Very good.
At least a month break.
No mental self-harm.
But also, Uncharted 4 is really long, and I don't know if I can play all of it in a month.
That's fair.
That was my one takeaway the first playthrough was like, holy shit, does this game end?
You know what does end? This podcast sometimes after a long go of things.
This was one of our shortest gaming episodes ever.
That is kind of true. These ones always feel long, I think, just because it has longer segments of us staring at each other.
Yeah.
If you want to get some cool perks like stickers and artwork made by our buddy Colin, as well as sometimes early access to our episodes and exclusive access to happy hour segments where after each show we'll crack open a drink, talk about weird shit, the weather, root beer flavors, vinyl, sometimes with just whatever the fuck.
I don't think we've done root beer flavors. Superior root beer, go.
If anything like local or like remotely handmade, but if I had to go with like regular bottled stuff you can buy in a store, mug cream soda.
How did you choose the worst root beer company?
Regular mug sucks, but the cream soda is good though. The cream all right. It's one of the only ones you can get a cream soda like in a regular store.
Okay. Yeah, regular mug is the worst root beer.
A&W sucks though. Barks also suck. Root beer is good. Why do all the companies suck dick?
I like Barks well enough. That would be my choice out of those three, but I like IBC root beer the best.
That's fair. Big thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. Give them all of our love. Give them your money. They have a Marvel vs. Capcom game cabinet that you can give your money. Mm-hmm. Toss in a quarter and play for about 30 seconds before you get your butt whooped.
It's probably like 4 quarters, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't fucking know. Do I look like I've ever touched anything? Do I go outside? No. I only get my orders from Jetpack through the mail, obviously.
True.
Tune in next month for not Uncharted 4. And I don't know what I'm doing. So it's gonna be a Hail Mary across the board. This will be interesting.
No, I'm pretty well on track to be talking about Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm just a hair past halfway, and about a quarter of that was what I did last night. So,
damn, that's some solid progress.
It was. I finally hit like the downward slope of like, holy shit, that 6-hour tutorial took way too long.
Fair. If I was following my actual schedule, it should be Borderlands 2, but I'm not prepared for that yet. So
nope.
We're gonna call an audible. Also, text 555 to 555 to get our Audible sponsorship.
I wish.
Oh gosh, can you imagine?
I cannot tell you how many times I've taken advantage of their get 3 months of Audible for $1 a month.
Yep.
I just jumped on that again this month.
Dude, could you imagine if we ever got the legendary Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship?
I'd probably say no.
I think that's like the only thing we would flatly say no to.
I wish we could get some hymn samples. You know, some hair growth stimulant that doesn't work, or I don't know, boner pills would be cool.
Boner pills. Dude, I just go to the gas station for those. They work fine. Yeah, tune
My
in.
heart feels funny, but the boner worked.
When does my heart not feel funny?
Apparently, you're not supposed to take 2 gas station boner pills with 2 white monsters.
Only 2? What am I, a Klingon and have 2 dicks? The real question is, do Klingons have an over-under or a side-by-side dick, like, barrel layout? That's the important question.
That is the important question.
I think it's been determined canonically, but I don't think either of us know the actual answer, so I guess you'll have to wait until next month when I will have the answer to this question. I will definitely remember.
This is definitely a good month to become a patron because I will be talking about another video game in Happy Hour.
That's true.
It has been like Colin style hyper focus this last week or two. It's been crazy.
Oh boy, I'm in for a treat.
Are you staring at the nun in your closet? Okay. There's no nun in your closet, by the way. I was making that up.
I'm going to drug you with Benadryl until you see the Hat Man, motherfucker. The fuck are they doing out there?
The fuck they doing over there?
Seriously.